What do you imagine hearing the word bridge? The road that rises above the river and connects two neighboring banks. The bridge can be taller if vessels go under it, or longer if there is a wide river between the banks. But what if the river is the largest maritime artery? And what if the coasts are so far away that people on one bank cannot see the other, and each of them is a giant city? Hong Kong Zhuhai-Macao Bridge. 55 kilometers or 34 miles of track, one underwater tunnel and 3 cable-stayed bridges. Can that still be called a bridge? So, Hong Kong's Special Administrative Region is located on the Kowloon Peninsula, surrounded by the South China Sea, as well as on hundreds of islands, the largest and most important of which is Hong Kong. Being for a century and a half in fact a British colony, now Hong Kong is a special autonomous territory of China, and at the same time one of the largest business and financial centers of Asia. Located on the islands, Hong Kong is a very compact city with a high population density, about 1.3 million people on a small area. This is one of the reasons for a large number of skyscrapers, some of which have already become symbols of the city. The second geographic point is Zhuhai. This is a large urban area that includes many islands and is inhabited by approximately 1.5 million people. It is an important transportation hub connecting many regions and cities, including Guangzhou and Macau. By the way, it is known in the aviation world. This is the home of the Zhuhai Air Show, one of the most important in the region. Finally, Macau. This special administrative region of China is the second place with such status in the country, along with Hong Kong. Like the first, it used to be a colony, this time of Portugal, for as many as 442 years. The territory is quite compact, also on the peninsula and a group of smaller islands, and also with a large population density, about 700,000 people on a small area. And of course, Macau is a major port, the important economic and financial center, and is also known for its clubs, gambling houses, hippodromes, casinos, and everything else that the lovers of loud parties from all over the world are drawn to. And so, what is the connection between these three major centers? Until recently, this issue was a problem for China. The fact is that both special areas, as well as several large agglomerations of the region, are located quite close to each other, but are separated by sea. This led to the fact that millions of people every day had to spend many hours on long trips, and the transport infrastructure was significantly overloaded. This problem was raised in the 1980s. Already at that time, some big businessmen from Hong Kong offered to build communications of bridges and tunnels, connecting the peninsula north of Hong Kong through the islands of the Pearl River Delta to Zhuhai and next to Macau. However, at that time, the lack of funding and the excessive complexity of the project did not allow it to be launched. The idea was remembered again in the mid-1990s, when the Zhuhai administration came up with a similar plan. At that time was built a bridge to the Kiao Island, one of the two through which was planned to build the original mega bridge. However, even then the idea was not realized. Too expensive project with too many risks. Building a bridge several dozen kilometers long, across a wide bay filled with very dense sea traffic seemed almost fantastic. In addition, no one could calculate the impact of such a huge object on the environment. Nevertheless, despite it not being realized, the project was considered interesting and was not forgotten. At the beginning of the 21st century, once again, the mega bridge began to excite the minds of both the leaders and residents of the region and the government of China. Large-scale studies were conducted to determine the viability of such a program. In 2003, all points came together. The technology, theoretically, made it possible to implement such a project. The economy had the opportunity to finance it, and the needs of the region, first of all Hong Kong and Macau, were obvious. Their transport network were barely coping with the growing traffic. Soon, the government started a design program of the Transport Way, which was supposed to connect Hong Kong, Zhuhai and Macau. A special advanced work coordination group was created. Its responsibilities were to provide administrative support, planning, funding and coordination with the regional authorities. This was a difficult task, since Hong Kong and Macau have wide autonomy and require special approach. In 2008, the government of the People's Republic of China, the authorities of Guangdong, The region of mainland China, which includes Zhuhai, as well as the governments of Hong Kong and Macau, agreed to finance 42% of the project budget. The remaining 58% was the loan from the Bank of China. However, a year later, this ratio changed, and the loans now accounted for 78% of the budget, at that time about $8.4 billion. Construction work began in 2009, when a commencement ceremony was held in Zhuhai. The construction from Hong Kong's side began only in 2011, since there was a long-time debate about ensuring environmental safety. Despite all the difficulties, the work was being carried out at an active pace, and the project not only realized the ideas of seemingly fantastic early plans, but surpassed them. The highway moved a bit to the south, connecting the main destinations almost in a straight line, became much longer, and included not only the bridge, but also artificial islands and tunnels. The project was incredibly difficult. From the very beginning, there were problems during the artificial island's creation. The constant flow of water and the sea waves were gradually shifting them, which required their reinforcement. There were also many problems in the construction of the bridge itself and other elements of the infrastructure. The amount and cost of the work were constantly growing, and the deadlines shifted. But, despite all the challenges, the project was implemented. The main stage of the bridge construction was finished in 2016, and the tunnel by the summer of 2017. Officially, the construction was complete in February 2018. And so, what is this bridge? First of all, it's not exactly a bridge. The Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macao Bridge is a 55-kilometer or 34-mile long structure consisting of three parts. The main viaduct, 29.6 kilometers or 18.4 miles in length, running through the Pearl River estuary, the Hong Kong Hub, 12 kilometers or 7.5 miles long, and the route of the Zhuhai Transport Hub, which is 13.4 kilometers or 8.3 miles long. The most significant structure is, of course, the main highway, a path almost 30 kilometers long, made up of the 22.9 kilometers or 14.2 miles surface bridge, which on its way to Hong Kong passes into the 6.7 kilometers or 4.2 miles long underwater tunnel. The builders of this superstructure had to accomplish several main tasks. First, a very long bridge had to be laid across the delta of a huge river with a difficult soil composition at the bottom. And besides, the structure had to endure harsh climatic conditions of the South China Sea. The second task, even more difficult. The Pearl River Delta itself is a huge transportation hub, full of ships day and night, the whole year, from private yachts to huge tankers and cargo ships. It was necessary to build a structure that crossed this node and at the same time didn't make any problems for the traffic. To solve this problem, the main bridge received three huge and high cable-stayed bridges, ranging in its width from 280 to 460 meters, or about 900 to 1500 feet, under which any modern ship can sail easily. But it was not enough. To maintain a fairly wide, free transport zone, in the eastern part, closer to the coast of Hong Kong, the bridge goes underwater. The structure goes to a small artificial island on which the road rushes into the tunnel. This tunnel itself is an engineering miracle. Lying at a depth of 48 meters, or 160 feet, it is designed to work effectively in conditions of not only the pressure of water and soil, but also changes in the seabed and aggressive climatic conditions. In this matter, the order was especially strict. The building must function normally at any conditions for more than a century. This problem still stands today. There is a lot of controversy in the expert community and among the residents that the too aggressive environment is gradually destroying some ultra-protected objects near the tunnels and artificial islands, the challenge which the Chinese engineers are yet to overcome. The tunnel arrives to the second artificial island, and the road goes back to the bridge, already in the jurisdiction of the Hong Kong authorities. This part of the path above the water has a length of 9.4 kilometers or 5.8 miles, runs into a coastal route which goes along the airport of Hong Kong and through another small tunnel, only a kilometer long, enters one of the main highways of the economy. On the western side, there is the no less complicated Zhuhai Transport Hub. This is a large artificial island on which the main bridge comes from the east, and from the west there are highways leading directly to Zhuhai and Macao. For safety reasons, speed on the bridge is limited to 100 km per hour, or 62 miles per hour. The bridge has 3-lane routes in each direction, which meets the requirements rather well. A curious feature of the entire structure is the difference in the driving rules. The right-hand traffic is accepted in China, and this rule also applies to the bridge, while in Macau and Hong Kong, the traffic is left-handed. As a result, drivers must switch to the appropriate lane through special path, while entering and exiting the bridge. The bridge greatly simplified trips between the regional centers. While it used to take 3 hours to get from Hong Kong to Macau, now it only takes 30 minutes. This bridge, as well as the new infrastructure, became one of the trump cards in the Beijing's plans to transform the coastal zone and base of this region into an even larger economic center, part of which, moreover, also received the status of a free economic zone. That's quite a bridge the guys from China have built, so they are pretty good at building mega structures. And I am waiting for your comments and thoughts about it. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. There is a lot of interesting things on the horizon.